โมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะพุทธังธัมมังสังฆังนัมมัสสามิ And blessings, good evening to you all. And practicing the Dhamma, or cultivating the path of practice that the Buddha left us. One of the tendencies we have is to always be looking for a particular technique, meditation technique, and technique to help us deal with our stress. And we often put a high expectation on whatever technique it is that we've heard or learnt, been given. It's not necessarily that the technique, such as breathing meditation, for example, is wrong, but it has to be practiced together with many other things. The Buddhist path we call the Eightfold Noble Path. It involves 8 different factors: developing our wisdom faculty, developing positive emotions, developing skill in our speech, our action, the way we earn our living, and so on. It's broader than just one simple technique. And this is something we have to keep in mind as we practice, because often we're putting all our hope, all our expectation on this one technique to solve all our problems, bring us to a place of peace, free our mind from all stress. And we're sometimes too limited in our approach. So I say the technique of mindfulness of breathing is a very powerful, transformative meditation object, for example. But it needs to be practiced together with other things. We need to practice patience, for example, because when you come to practice breathing meditation, it may take a while before your mind settles down and you can establish some mindfulness, paying attention to the breath. While you're waiting for that, you need to be patient. And as we're practicing, there'll be different obstacles that arise in our mind, different hindrances, and they may need different qualities when you to deal with them. So when you have anger, you need goodwill or compassion. When you have doubt, you need to reflect on the Dhamma. When you have anxiety, you need to find something that will calm you down. When you have a lot of desire, you need something to help you loosen your mind's obsession with that desire. We need different spiritual qualities, different skillful mental states to deal with a particular problem or obstacle that's arisen. Of course, we need mindfulness, and maybe mindfulness directed to the breath alone sometimes will work, but not always. There'll be other things we need to develop in our practice. So we need this broader picture. Sometimes somebody was saying today, when they're really stressed from their work, the breath is just too difficult to focus their mind on the breath. It's too big a jump from feelings of stress, which are both physical, tension, mental anxiety, thinking too much, to just dive into watching the breath, bring up that technique. It doesn't work. They've tried it and it doesn't work, which is fair enough. So we need to use other things as well. You have to have maybe a variety of techniques, a variety of approaches. So sometimes particularly when you are stressed, just bringing up the reflection to be patient with it. Accept the fact that whatever's arisen may take some time to pass. So to remind yourself, be patient with something, can already bring you a better attitude. You can't be with the breath yet, but you can remind yourself to be patient. Another teaching, which is a very mature teaching to accept, is just the acceptance of cause and effect, cause and result, karma. The Buddha and all the wise teachers since the time of the Buddha remind us that we are the product of our own karma. Everything we're experiencing has come about through our own actions, good and bad. So when we do experience stress, suffering, pain, there's causes for that. It's something we have to accept. So we need the quality of upekkha, equanimity. And sometimes we get equanimity just from being mindful in the present moment, but also we use wisdom, wise reflection to bring up the equanimity, particularly when we are experiencing some pain or stress or something unpleasant. But then the pleasant experiences we have are also the results of karma, past actions. I am the owner of my karma, heir to my karma, so good and bad. But our cultural conditioning and the way people around us will tend to talk, and the way the world influences us, we tend to assume that we should have pleasant experiences. We're here to enjoy and to have pleasure and success. That's what we're looking for, that's what we expect. But pleasure, success has its causes too. And we can't just experience pleasure just through wanting it or expecting it. It comes through a set of causes and conditions. So whether it's pain or pleasure we experience through our day, there are causes that have led up to it. This is the law of karma at work. If you set your heart on just only one thing, I only want pleasure, and you don't accept pain, you're going to make things more difficult for yourself. Why? Because we've created a mixture through our past actions of pleasure and pain, or good and bad karma. And the results are coming back to us all the time, and it's a mixture. So even if you are practicing meditation, mindfulness of breathing, and you put a lot of effort into your practice, and your mind settles down with the breath, we say that is making good karma. Good causes, bringing up skillful states of mind such as mindfulness, effort, energy. Maybe you have some faith in the Buddha and his teachings. Maybe even some joy, contentment, happiness arises. These are all good qualities. But you've also got a human body. You'll notice sometimes when your meditation is going well, and you're sitting there peaceful, and your mind might go to quite a pleasant state inside. But the body might also be experiencing pain, because you're sitting for a long time. You'll notice when you're peaceful in meditation, you can sit there for maybe an hour, and time seems to go quite quickly. That's the result of your good karma, good causes, putting effort into establishing mindfulness, letting go of distractions, being patient with the hindrances, working through them, letting them go. Your good karma might bring the mind to experience a lot of joy, to relax, and the sense of time just disappears. So 1 hour can seem like just a few minutes. But at the same time, you may still have physical pain. If you sit still for a long time, your limbs may be painful when you notice them. But because you're also experiencing pleasure, you don't notice the pain. Maybe until you finish meditation and get up. Life is like this. It's a mixture of pleasure and pain, or pleasant experiences, unpleasant experiences, constantly coming back to us from our own actions. And one obvious karma that we're experiencing is the fact we're born as a human being, in a human form. As monks, we joke, we say we're here because we volunteered for it. You volunteered to be a human being. You wanted it. Your past karma led up to this. So you're here because you wanted to be born. So that means you were volunteering for the pain as well as the pleasure. Because the nature of this human existence, this human realm, is it's a mixture of pleasure and pain. From day one, we're born, the midwife or whoever it is pulls us out, hangs us up by our ankles and hits our bum. I don't know if they still do that. I haven't visited any births recently. But if they still do that, they hit your bum and you start crying. So the very first thing you do in life is cry. You're there because your consciousness, your stream of consciousness from your last life wanted to be there, wanted to be born so much. Why can you say that? Well, because we don't want to die, do we? In this life, we don't want to die. If any threat comes to us, we want to get away from it as quickly as possible. We don't want to die. So that gives you a clue of how much you want to be born. So when you finally do die from old age or sickness, or injury, your mind still has the desire for life. What we call bhavadanha, becoming. And you take that as your karma into your next life, and that's why you want to be born into another life. So you're born as a human being because you want to be born. You volunteered for it. That simple reflection can help you deal with some of the suffering that comes up. If you can't watch the breath, say, because you're just too stressed, too tired, hurting too much, too unhappy, too distracted, whatever it is, you can reflect on karma at that time and say, oh, I'm experiencing this because I've done things that have led up to this point, and now I'm experiencing this particular pain. That's a very mature reflection. It leads to the quality of upekkha, which is in the cultivation of Dhamma. It's the highest quality, the hardest quality to develop. So upekkha means equanimity towards conditions, both the pleasant and the unpleasant. Not grasping at the pleasant, not grasping and reacting to the unpleasant. But when we reflect on karma like this, it can help us to deal with many different unpleasant experiences we have and face. I have to experience this because causes and conditions have led up to this point. One of those things we say when we do have stress and suffering is, I don't want this. I don't want to be born again is a common one. Many Buddhists say that, don't they? I never want to be born again, I want Nibbana. But that's wanting Nibbana through just wanting to get rid of suffering. That's what we call vipavadanha, craving not to become. Our mind is not happy with what it's experiencing, so it wants to get rid of it, get beyond it. It's not coming from a place of wisdom yet, it's coming from a place of rejection of pain. But when you bring up the reflection on karma and cause and effect, maybe it helps you to understand, there's reasons for this pain. One of the reasons is because I was born. You're born, the inevitable will happen is that you get older, you'll experience some aches and pains and degeneration of your body, you'll get sick from time to time, and eventually you'll die. No way around it. It's the karma of being born. If you didn't want this, then you should be born in a Brahma realm maybe, where you have beautiful, blissful states, just like when you enter deep samadhi and meditation. If you want to know what a Brahma realm is, like the highest heaven realms, develop samadhi, where you let go of all the aches and pains of the body and all the unpleasant experiences of life, and your mind is just focused on itself, on a very blissful, peaceful object. But of course that's difficult. That requires a lot of practice. So we volunteered to be a human being. We're here now. There's no escaping that fact. So one reflection is, the nature of this realm is both pleasant and unpleasant. It's the way it is. Of course, we have the right to minimize the pain, and we can seek to maximize the pleasure. But you'll never get completely beyond pain because you have a body. And the realm we live in is, we say, a sensual realm. So you don't just see pleasant sights, hear pleasant sounds, taste agreeable tastes, touch things that are pleasant all the time. We have some pleasure and then we'll have some pain. So how do we deal with that? When the Buddha said we'll reflect on karma, cause and effect, and accept, bring your mind to accept with mindfulness, with wisdom and understanding, that the pleasure you're experiencing from moment to moment is the resultant karma that you've made. That pleasant sight you see, there's causes that have led up to that. And that unpleasant sight you see, also there's causes that have led up to that. Even the perceptions we have that we put onto our experience, as you're seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, those perceptions have been conditioned through our past karma. So one person sees something and likes it and enjoys it. Another person may see the same thing and be bored or fed up with it, or even against and averse to what they see. Same with sounds, taste, smell, touch. We all have the differences of our personalities, our characters, and in short we say our karma varies. So one person likes sweet, one likes sour. One person likes loud, one person likes soft. One person likes green, one person likes blue, red, and so on. This is karma. So even just seeing sights, two different people will have different perceptions arise, and that will have result in different feelings. The tone of the experience varies. One person is finding it pleasant, one person is finding it unpleasant. But this is karma at work. Living in a sensual realm like this, we're not in a bubble. We're not insulated from our senses. So we have to establish some mindfulness and wisdom and reflect to bring up the equanimity and accept, this is karma coming back to me, good and bad. You notice when you do reflect in this way, opens you up to recognize many good things as much as many bad things. And this is one way to deal with stress and suffering. Say you are caught into an experience of stress or suffering from your work or your personal life. The reason the Buddha encouraged us to establish mindfulness and reflect on karma and cause and effect is because in every experience there'll be different aspects that you can open up to. So say you're having a painful experience. Say you go to the dentist and you have to have some dental work done, or you're working hard at your job and you're feeling tired, or whatever it is. Those are times when you establish patience. You may not be able to be very mindful of your breath or anything like that, but you can reflect and say, well, where is the good in this? And that can be a very simple, direct way to help you deal with stressful things. Say you're at the dentist, which many people seem to hate. Maybe the reflection then is, well, at least I have a dentist to go to, and there's hopefully it's a good dentist, and they're doing their job, and they're sorting out whatever it is that's wrong with your teeth. Or you're feeling tired doing a task, doing a job, looking after your family, going to work, meditating, whatever you're doing, and you're becoming tired and losing energy. You can also bring up reflection, well, at least I have this chance to meditate, or this job of work I'm doing is producing something good. At the very least it's giving me an income, paying the bills. If I'm looking after my family, then I am doing something worthwhile, serving people, helping my family with love, with kindness. There'll always be different aspects to every experience of suffering. And you can establish mindfulness and look into that. Sure, there may be unpleasant causes as well. Say you're dealing with other people sometimes and they treat you unkindly. They ignore you, or they criticize you unjustly, or they insult you. There'll be causes for that as well. It doesn't come out of nowhere. But you can also pause and just reflect on the situation. Maybe there's still some good in that situation. At the very least, they're teaching you how to deal with insults, or when people criticize us. It's something you can learn from. And if you learn from it, establish mindfulness, reflect on it, maybe next time it happens, you're a little wiser and you can deal with it better. So the Buddha encouraged us to move towards this quality of equanimity and bringing up wise reflection, reflecting on our karma. It's almost like a shortcut to get us there. It's hard to enter deep states of meditation, especially if you lead a busy life. Not impossible, but it's hard, it's challenging. But to bring up a reflection, this is karma. I have to be patient with it. Now, you can bring that up at any moment. You're facing illness, pain, problems, obstacles in your life. You can bring up the reflection that I should be patient with this. And you're learning patience in a situation where you may not be naturally patient, but to bring up patience is already something good out of that situation. The more you reflect on this, the more you reflect on how we're receiving the fruits of our karma, but we're also making karma as we receive the fruits of our past karma. You realize that every moment is an opportunity to make good karma, even when we are experiencing pain, difficulty. Literally from moment to moment, you can change the course of your life, the course of your mind, the course of your thinking, by bringing up wholesome qualities in your mind as you go through your day, whether it's in meditation or just at work or with the family, whatever. How you meet your past karma as it's manifesting for you is where we're practicing. Many people are caught up into the delusion they have achieved some success, some pleasure, some happiness in life. So then they start to take it for granted and just expect life to always be like that, to go the way they want, bring them pleasure, get what they want, be successful. So of course when things don't go our way, we quickly become frustrated and annoyed. But even when we're experiencing pleasure and success in life, we have to establish mindfulness and recognize, well, this is the fruits of past actions. This is those past actions resulting now in this particular pleasure or success. But is life just about experiencing more pleasure, holding on to pleasure? Or do we also have to establish mindfulness and accept them? The success, the pleasure we have is also impermanent and it passes, just as pain and difficulty passes. And this is something to look at in your experience, how we cling to the pleasure and we reject the pain. And sometimes it's just moment to moment through our day, to the point where it just becomes an unconscious habit. If you pause when you are next experiencing a feeling of stress or a stressful situation, you can sometimes unpack or analyze or just look more deeply at that situation, and you realize it's a combination of many factors and different things from the past coming up, good and bad. Sometimes we experience pain in the midst of goodness. As I was saying just now in meditation, sometimes you can put a lot of effort into meditation, gain some clarity, some peace, some insight, but at the same time maybe you feel very tired or your muscles all ache from the practice you've been doing. It's not all pleasure. Pleasure and pain are often intertwined and alternating in our experience. So as we practice more, we have to mature our attitude a bit, not just rely on a particular technique alone, but also develop wise reflection on the nature, the way things are, the way the world is. So we're more prepared for the different experiences we have. And particularly reflecting on karma will help with this. The Buddhist teachings are teaching us or encouraging us to develop good karma. And we hear this all the time, but this is the way out of suffering. Cultivating skillful qualities in our life. We can't experience happiness simply through willpower, willing it to happen. Or maybe complaining so loud that somehow it happens. If I complain loud enough, then things will go my way. It doesn't work in reality. Happiness comes through causes and conditions. You could say, why are we here? Well, we volunteered to be here. Why did we volunteer? Well, maybe in the past we've realized the importance of a human birth. Having been born a human, we have an opportunity to make good karma. As human beings, we can do things. We're active, we're creative, we work, we move all the time. We're not born as sedentary beings that just sort of sit there all the time. It's part of our human nature to move around, to do things. But unfortunately, because we often fall into wrong views and misunderstandings, we do things that create more harm, more trouble for ourselves and for others. But that doesn't mean to say just stop altogether. What the Buddha encouraged us to do is create good karma through our actions, to train in that, to learn what is good karma, and then put effort into doing that. This is why listening to the Dhamma is so valuable. We need to keep listening to the Dhamma, studying the Dhamma, listening, and then reflecting on it. So that activity, all that movement that we undertake in our lives is going in the right direction. It's going towards creating good causes that will bring back freedom from suffering, happiness. The Buddhist path, as we know, is rooted in practice of generosity, morality, and bhavana, cultivating our mind both on the emotional level, positive emotion, and then cultivating our intelligence to see, to understand the way things are, what we call wisdom. These are the skillful activities that the Buddha encouraged us to develop because we need to be active as human beings. We can't just sit still all our lives. But we need to think about what kind of karma we're making every day. It's a very simple reflection. As you do experience different painful experiences, unpleasant experiences, we reflect on this is the product of my past actions. what actions will lead to a different result, what actions will lead to happiness. Say if you're keeping sila, keeping precepts, in the way precepts are taught in Buddhism, we don't keep them because the Buddha makes us keep them or told us you have to keep them. They're not commandments. We keep precepts because we realize those precepts will protect us from suffering. Because say you undertake to not kill, not steal, not engage in acts of sexual misconduct, not to lie or speak malicious speech, not to take intoxicants. Those 5 training rules that you take on keep you from creating bad karma that will bring you suffering. We have to take those training rules, those guidelines on because we see the value of it. We have to think it through. This is going to be for my benefit. And if you keep precepts and you practice living in a moral way, you train your conduct not to harm others, not to harm yourself, then you're protected in many different situations. Why are we protected? And because we're creating good karma as we go along through our life. The activities, the actions that we're involved with are skillful when you're living in a moral way. When we forget that and we go in the other direction, we start to hurt ourselves or others through our speech, our actions, it's like we lose that protection. We open up to unpleasant results coming back to us. The most obvious one is when you give in to anger, isn't it? When you're angry and you speak in anger, you criticize someone, even if it's true, but when said in anger, that person doesn't like what they hear, so it puts them against us, and our own mind receives an impression from those angry words. At the very least it becomes, reinforces the habit to do it again. It also takes away a little bit of our own happiness. When you dwell with negative thoughts and then speak them out or even act them out, a little bit of our own happiness is diminished and we're less protected. And we lose our own self-respect because of those words that we said, and then other people hear those words, they lose a little bit of their respect for us. If that habit becomes established, becomes a strong karma, a strong habit, then people completely lose their respect for us. So we're no longer protected. It's the same with killing, stealing, taking intoxicants, sexual misconduct. These 5 guidelines, when practiced, they protect us. They are good karma. They're using this life, this body, this mind in a skillful way. But when we give up that training, we are unprotected. Our mind is not at ease. We lose our inner respect and sense of ease, and then outwardly we're creating negative conditions with other people and the environment, the world around us. It's the same with meditation. You'll notice even if you're not particularly saying or doing anything to hurt anyone, but if you're clinging to a wrong view, a negative view of something or a deluded view of something, that also is leaving an impression on our mind. This is why we listen to the Dhamma and straighten out our views, and then we have to reflect on what we've heard. Understand what is good karma, what is bad karma, what is true, what is false. Keep investigating the truth. Because if we don't, then again our mind will incline towards wrong views, negative thinking, and suffer. So the teaching on karma is something to be practiced, not just believed in, but actually put into practice. And if we want to experience happiness and freedom from suffering, we have to create the causes for that through our own action. If we let our mind always dwell on what's wrong with ourselves, with other people, or our job, or our family, or the world around us, that's karma as well. And that's developing maybe a negative outlook, negative attitude towards the world, and that if that becomes established as a habit, well, that's the way our mind will experience the world, as a negative, unhappy place. We'll become depressed, disappointed. So whether it's on the level of actions, speech, mental states, the Buddha encouraged us to develop skillful karma every day. And to do that, we have to reflect on what is good karma, what is bad karma, and then act accordingly. We have to be strong, we have to be patient, we have to put effort in and keep working at it. And human beings are remarkably resilient, they have a lot of strength. And that's why probably we were born as human beings. We recognize that from the past. We wanted to be born because we recognize the opportunity of being born as a human being. You have a good opportunity to make good karma, to develop yourself in a good way. But we have to put that effort forth. If we are always caught into the wrong view that we somehow are entitled to endless happiness and life should always go our way, we're just setting up causes for ourselves to suffer, to be stressed. And how often do you notice yourself doing that in the course of your day? When something goes wrong, this shouldn't happen, it shouldn't be like this. But there are causes for these things. When things go wrong, when we experience pain, stress, there are causes for it. We may not see the cause yet, we may not realize, but we have to keep looking until we do. And we have to use that as a lesson in cultivating good karma. Once you see the result of your unskillful actions, even on the level of the mind, just getting caught into negative views, negative thoughts, once you see that, the harm of that, then you have to turn it around and say, no, I'm going to abandon this, let go of this, focus on the good. This is as much a technique in Buddhism as watching the breath or any other meditation. Training your mind to cultivate good karma in all situations and abandon unskillful karma, and to put up with the results of our past unskillful karma with patience, with equanimity, with understanding. And really, if we are suffering, then we have to bring up the reflection, this is a lesson to be learned from. I don't want this again, so from here on I'll make good karma. A very simple, very kind of logical reflection, but it's something we need to bring up every day because we fall into the delusion of expecting things to be other than they are. It shouldn't be like this, it's not fair. It's one I used to say when I was a kid, oh, this is not fair, it's injustice, it's an injustice. But really, the law of karma takes your mind beyond that to a higher place where you say, oh, it may be unpleasant, but it's fair in the sense there are causes that have led up to this. Of course, there's a time and place for discussing this with other people. If someone is really suffering, that's not the time to say, oh, you're really suffering, you deserve it. Your karma is not a tool to beat yourself or someone else over the head with. And it's a mature reflection though, when your mind is ready, you bring up this reflection, we have to sometimes be very mature and accept, I've brought myself to this position in life. There's things I've said and done, or things I've thought, or my views and opinions have brought me to this point. But there's some release there, isn't there? When you start taking responsibility for what you've said and done, there's a little bit of a release, and then you're looking for something better, a better way forward, looking how to make the skillful karma. I've never met anyone in the world who's not had some painful experiences. It seems some people have more than others, but everyone has some pain. Really is the most common experience for a human being. We have pleasure, but we have pain. There's no way around it. So when you have that voice saying, this is not fair, this shouldn't happen, remind yourself it's actually a very common, natural experience. And we can improve ourselves, which is why we're here. But as we go along our path, there are bound to be a few mistakes, a few wrong turns. We're bound to make some unskillful karma from time to time, and we have to accept that and then learn from it. If you can understand this point, then every morning is like you're being born again. You go to bed at night, it's like turning off for a while, going to bed, it's like a bit like dying, turning off, and then in the morning you wake up, it's like being born again. And it's not all going to be pleasant because you've made a mixture of good and bad karma, but at least you have that motivation to get up in the morning and work with it, to learn the lessons you need to learn, to grow, to become a better person. If you want the Buddhist answer to the meaning of life, why are we here? It's to become a better person, to improve. To do that, you need to get up in the morning. Practice. That's why Ajahn Chah made Buddhist monks get up at 3 a.m. or lay people who came and stay in the monastery. You really have to try if you're going to get up at 3 a.m. But whatever time you set for yourself, make that choice and then get up. However bad you feel, however depressing it seems, get up and do some good. Even one moment of kindness displayed in a day is better than nothing, isn't it? It uplifts your mind. And many moments of kindness, many moments of patience, patient effort, many moments of mindfulness, many moments reflecting on the karma that you're making will improve your day, will improve your mind, will take you a little bit further toward your goal of freedom from suffering. And there's always more we can do, because you wouldn't be here at this point in your life if you hadn't already done some good. So you have a store of good that you can reflect on. You have some good in the past that you can appreciate, the good in yourself, the good in the people around you who have helped you, parents, family, friends, teachers, colleagues. However bad things are, there's always some good there in the background as well. And we have to be able to to focus the mind on that when things go bad and when we feel blocked or obstructed. We have to make our mind work at it, to bring up the reflection on the good. And that can clear away some of the obstacles. Just as keeping precepts, practicing generosity, keeping precepts clears away some obstacles and brings that sense of well-being and sort of protects you. Focusing on the good in yourself and on others clears away some of the obstacles of the mind. A lot of meditation is working on doing that, focusing on the good, letting go of the negative. There's always a store of goodness in ourselves and in others that we can tap into if we make that effort. Sure, there's a lot of bad news in the world, and there's things that we've done that we're not proud of, and things we can remember that didn't go very well. But that's also karma, isn't it? Accepting it with the responsibility and then moving on to creating good karma. Creating the good out of the bad, learning the lesson, turning the mind to focus on the good when it would rather focus on the bad. Putting up with difficulties and adversity, and then that very act of putting up with is wholesome karma, isn't it? Being patient with difficulty is wholesome karma. Already your karma improves, your mind improves when you're patient with the difficulty. The way the Buddha taught is, it's a teaching of action, skillful action, to overcome unskillful action. Cultivating the good so that we can abandon the bad. And we can do that as human beings. Otherwise we wouldn't be here as human beings. The Buddhist explanation is that we're not here by accident, it's not random. We've done good in the past, therefore we were born now. But it's not like it's all cozy and easy, because human realm is not all pleasure. It's a mixture of pleasure and pain, and we have to learn how to deal with the pain. But not to make unnecessary pain for ourselves. Don't make it worse than it needs to be. That's another practice of karma. Practicing equanimity when we do meet with difficulties within ourselves or other people, not making further bad karma, being patient with the unpleasant that comes up, and then focusing on developing good karma. If you keep doing that long enough, eventually your mind stops making bad karma altogether, makes just good karma, and eventually goes beyond the whole process of karma. The highest karma, good karma, is the karma that ends karma. Seeing that ultimately there's nobody making karma anyway. And sometimes we'll get an insight into that when the mind is really clear and still, and the sense of self-identity disappears. But on the way to that, we have to make good karma and abandon the bad karma. So maybe I'll leave you with those reflections tonight, and we can see if there's anyone has any questions tonight.